Good afternoon and welcome to my garage. This afternoon I'll be making a quick video to show you how to set up and use the BG Racing digital camber gauge. To start off with, let's see what's in the box. So in the set there's two basic components, the first of which is the aluminium frame. This has two metal pins that are screwed in, and these can be adjusted to suit your tyre width. The next part of the gauge is the sensor part. This is the digital sensor that screws on to the aluminium gauge. It's a very straightforward type of gauge. A single on switch there. You can use it to measure both the flat surface that way and that way. It's also magnetic, so that you can stick it onto something at an angle if you wish to take a measurement. In this part I'll be fitting the gauge to the aluminium frame. It does have a right way up to go, so if you hold the frame this way with the sort of solid edge there and the pins alongside, your sensor wants to go upright on there. You'll also see there's a little USB slot and a small round button there. This goes against that solid edge. So we'll pop it on. The gauge is held on by two screws. We're using the Allen key to tighten these up, and then essentially the gauge sits in its frame like that. And once you're happy with its position, we'll just tighten those up and then we'll go on to the calibration. The first thing to do when we begin our calibration is to press the set button, which is the one furthest over on the right. Hold that down. Hopefully you'll see this on the screen, but we're now moving through the menus to go up to calibration. When we found the one we want, we press set. The first measurement we take is with the gauge flat down on the table, so we press set. Once the beeping has finished, we turn the gauge 180 degrees in exactly the same position, and we press set again. Once that part of the setup is finished, we then turn the gauge and we're going to measure the vertical alignment. So we just pop it there and we press set again, which is that bottom button. Once that is finished, we then turn it through 180 degrees, which in fact is flipping it around that way, and then pop it back into position. And then set again. For the final measurement, we then measuring the balance of these two pins here. So we have the gauge flat on the desk again, and then we press set. I will just show you a nice feature. Hopefully you can see the gauge there. You'll see if you're not putting the gauge in the right position as you're doing the settings, it will tell you, so it knows that it needs to go that way round, so 180 degrees to our last setting before we press it again. And that should be our gauge now set up. So we go through our menu, we can scroll back down to back, and then that's our level hopefully set up. Once we've finished calibrating our gauge, we can just have a quick check on the worktop here to see if it's level. So on this side we've got 89.88 degrees, which is fairly close to 90. and then I'm just going to check the rear side too. So on the rear side we've got near enough the same, 89.8 degrees. So I think as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty happy with the calibration on that. So now we can put it on the car. You'll notice underneath the rear tyre there's a piece of tile. The idea of that is to make sure that the car is absolutely flat before we take some measurements on the camber. You'll see at the front here there is no tile required. Essentially this floor slopes backwards, and so we've levelled it off already. In order to ensure accuracy when we take our measurements, we want to make absolutely sure that all our tyres are set up in the same way as they would be on the car. To start off with, I'll be taking a stagger measurement. So on this front tyre here we've got a measurement of 78, and you may be able to see that I've made a note on the tyre wall of that. I've also been around all the other tyres and checked the pressures. They're all sitting around the sort of 32 mark, and the stagger has been checked too. It varies from around 78 on this very front one to 77.5 on one of the rears, so as far as I'm concerned it's close enough. So now we can go ahead and take our first measurement. So before we take our measurement, we first of all got to set our pins to the right depth for these wheels, which on these meters got to come in very slightly. You can just turn them slightly, and then that locks them into place. I'm also just going to move that one up a touch from the base. Same with this one. Just so they're nicely balanced in the middle. Once you're happy with your settings, make sure your gauge is switched on. And then we can take our first measurement across the wheel. We want to take it in the middle, and so I can see with that we've got 1.4 degrees of negative camber. You can see the measurement we've taken there is 1.4, so we'll make a note of that. We'll then do exactly the same for the rear wheels, so let's pop that one in the middle. And on there I've got a negative camber of 0.5. So that concludes my review of the BG Racing digital camber gauge. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please subscribe to my channel or like the video. Also, if you have any questions, please get in touch. Many thanks.